Welcome to Goldfish on Games and Covetous Face-Off XL, where for October of 1994 I'm getting a real feeling of deja vu. And sneaking back in for another appearance is CD32 Gamer, Amiga Format, CU Amiga, the one for Amiga, Amiga Action and Amiga Power. Fight! The one for Amiga is where we're starting. That included 3 demos across 2 discs, with the first one starting with an important message. Yes, the Amiga is not dead. And games like Alien Breed Tower Assault shows that it was still getting great games, even if this is a sequel to a sequel. For the few people who don't know what Alien Breed is about, it's a top-down shooter where you, or you and a friend, battle against the unlimited number of aliens, known as the Breed. And if you played the previous games, then you'll know what to expect here. But they have changed things up, as in the full game it's more of an open world, where there's multiple exits for most levels, and you can take your own path through the levels. But we obviously don't get that here in the demo. But what we can get to see is the new retreat mode, in which you'll walk backwards while being able to shoot. You move a little bit slower, but it is a welcome addition. This, as far as I'm aware, is a single level demo, and I say that because I don't think I got close to finishing the level. But I'm not sure that picking a level that had radioactive rooms that will slowly hurt you was the best idea for a demo. But then the Breed games were never known for being easy or to handhold you. The second demo is for Zonked, or as it was renamed when they released it, X-It. A very Amiga demo looking and sounding game. But at the end of the day, it is another take on the old block-pushing Sokoban genre. At least for the first few levels of the demo, as we have to push these blocks into holes, which will then fill them in so we can then walk to the X-It. There are different weights to the blocks, so there are some that you can push multiple ones around at once, with there obviously being ones that can only be pushed on their own, and others that will require a little bit of extra help. There are also the blocks that when pushed will keep moving as well, and amazingly there seems to be quite a few levels to the demo. But this is a game that commits some of the cardinal sins. We have a timer, there's a limited number of attempts, we even have an energy bar. Developers really needed to learn to relax and just let the gamers take these puzzles at their own pace. And their final demo was for Sensible World of Soccer. Yes, the demo that haunts my gaming nightmares is back, for another go at making me look bad at gaming. It is mostly the same as what we've seen from the other Sensible World of Soccer demos, as we can play friendly matches or an entire league. Well, with a limited set of fancy teams anyway. So you're not going to be taking charge of your favourite team. Well, that is unless Dead 11 is your favourite team, but it will let you play the matches or just manage the team or do both. Either way, it's always a poor showing from me, so if you enjoyed Sensible Soccer or Sensible World of Soccer, then this demo would be for you, and it would have been a huge deal at the time. Moving on, we have Amiga Format, who were a little bit sparse this month as they provided just a single demo and a full program, which was TV Star Text Professional, which is a video titler program. As in, you can make fancy looking screens with text on it, that you could then record to a tape to give your home movies that extra spark. And this one really did focus in on the text, with it giving you far more options than any of the previous packages that we've seen, and that was really its main goal. Good looking text overdoing fades or wipes. Now, I never had much use of these back in the day, but I've heard that a good number of you use programs like these for your own projects. So if you did want to give that extra bit of professionalism to Daddy Does Dallas or Amazing Skating Tricks video, this would have been great. And for those of you that did use the various ones back in the day, you'll have to let me know how this one compares to the others. The game demo is for Theme Park. A great game, and in this demo we get to see the Amiga 500 version, which was graphically cut down from the A1200 and PC editions. Now this is a little slow on original hardware, but this is how I played it back in the day. And this demo is what made me want to get the full game, because it opens up with what is a basic tutorial, and it tells you how to place a ride, shops, and even some of the little people. Now it is quite limited with how many rides and shops that you get, and you can't do any of the fancy things like researching or getting more options. But it does give you the whole land for you to work with, and it gives you a great idea what the full game is going to be like. But I really do wish that they could have given us a roller coaster so we could have had fun laying down those tracks. We return to the world of the CD32 with CD32 Gamer, that on its single CD had a range of demos and other things for us to check out. And as exciting as a Super Stardust demo might sound, this is just a rolling demo, and it's the exact same one that we saw last time as well. But they have at least removed the tunnel section, which used to make the previous demo crash. Which could also be said of the Little Divil demo. That when we got to see it previously, it was a little bit broken, and it would mess up once you beat the troll at the very start of the game. But now, we can actively explore the dungeon. And there seems to be quite a bit of the first level here. There might even be the entirety of the first level here, as we managed to play a good chunk while trying it out. As you'll get a chance to see some of the puzzles in the game, as at its core, this is a sort of puzzle game that you have to travel around the dungeons in this 3D view, finding objects and money that you'll then be able to use to buy more objects. And you'll need to use the right one with the right puzzle to try and complete it. And what's great is that it's all lovely and animated, and it looks great. But it can be a little bit annoying at times. The next demo is for Simon the Sorcerer, which opens up with a voiceover.
Welcome to the short interactive demonstration version of AdventureSoft's Simon the Sorcerer,
that explains what's currently going on. We can then go to play the game with either the controller or a mouse, which will make it a little bit easier, I think. And as we get going, we find out that this is the talkie version of the game, and we get to hear the voice talent of Chris Barry.
I'm standing behind you.
Do not joke with me, Hellspawn.
Now, one downside of this version of the game is that there is no subtitles. Amazingly, we didn't get a version of Simon the Sorcerer with both voice and subtitles until just a few years ago. But if you can overlook that, this is a classic point-and-click adventure. And interestingly, this is a different area to the game that we've seen in previous demos, which is a nice touch. This is a great CD32 release, as it has the higher colour counts that we saw in the AGA version as well as the PC editions of the game. But this being a little bit later on in the title, you might feel a little lost, even with the explanation at the beginning, but there is also an additional hint to help you out. There is a lot of talking in the Simon games, and quite often you'll need to be told how to solve a puzzle, even if you've already worked it out yourself. There's some funny lines, and the voice work is absolutely amazing.
And shining the flaming brand through the hole in the bucket. The druid will not allow Simon to do this while he's still wearing the ring, so remove it before trying.
The last demo is for Marvin's Marvelous Adventure, a Mario-like platformer in which you basically have to travel from the left to the right hand side of the screen to find a door that will then lead you on to the next level. It's a fine enough platformer, and it looks nice enough with extra levels of backgrounds going on. But the basics of it, well, it's not really pushing the CD32 all that much.
Marvelous!
But thankfully there are quite a few levels in the demo for you to check out, even if I got stuck at this bit, as I still can't work out how to use the double jump system. But I will say, good on them for giving you a dedicated jump button, as well as showing the nightmares that a pizza delivery person will go through to try and get their tip. Let's move on to the PD and shareware side of things. And first up is Lemmingnoids. And yes, that's Lemmings meets Asteroids, where you get to play as an umbrella that's coughing up bullets.
Oh no!
Let's not question it,
Oh no!
because you'll have to shoot at the lemmings that will then break up to form smaller lemmings, all to the mix of lemmings sound effects.
Bingo!
And if you thought the silly sound effects ended there, then you've not heard the umbrella move.
Oh no!
Yep, that is some very special sound effects there. And let's not forget the UFOs that are also umbrellas and also have their own special sounds.
Oh no! Bingo!
All in all, a silly game, but one with more options than you might expect.
Oh no!
The next PD game is Gobblies. A game that doesn't waste your time with a title screen, it just dumps you straight into this Pac-Man looking level, where we have to take the dude on the left hand side of the screen and try and catch the green face thing that's bouncing around over on the right hand side. But the ghosts are trying to stop us. Also getting in our way are the doors that can be opened and closed by those little glowing circles, and it doesn't matter if you or an enemy walks over them, either will trigger it. It's an interesting concept, and as you go they'll add more and more of those green-faced creatures for you to capture, all across the map. Oh, and those ghosts? They are much faster than you, so you can't easily outrun them. Oh, and they're also completely unpredictable in how they'll move. It's a simple game with some simple graphics, but I had some fun with it. Next, let's take a quick look at Fighting Warriors. A game that front loads a lot of detail, and then opens up with... well, yes, it's Amos meets Street Fighter 2. And if you don't believe me, it even has some of the specials. Now you know what, in some ways, this actually plays better than the official release. The sprites look detailed enough, and it's not the slowest beat 'em up I've ever played. But I did get a few graphical glitches. But that might be due to the fact it's playing on the CD32, and it might have been aimed at an Amiga 500. Because some of the PD games that we've seen previously, they expected a keyboard and would sit there until you used one, so not all the games that we've seen were really suited for this machine, even though they say they picked the best ones and tested them. And that is pretty much all the new PD games that they've included. The others, we've seen a number of times, so let's check out some of the shareware titles instead. And the one that I've picked is Descender, which isn't a Defender or Tetris clone, instead it's a Tempest clone. Now, I've never really put all that much time into Tempest or its sequels, but I have a rough idea about the game, And this looks like a decent attempt running in the high resolution mode, so it all looks nice and crisp. The movement felt a little bit weird to start with, but I'm not sure if that was me or just the game being a bit odd. But after a while it started to click and I was able to rapidly work through the levels. With there being lots of shapes and things coming at you through those gaps. So this is a bit like a shoot 'em up, where you have to take out the lines that sometimes will try and attack you as well, I think. There's a lot to take in here. I can't say how close this is to the arcade game because I've never really played it, but I did have some fun here. Let's move on to CU Amiga, who across 2 discs had a game demo, software demo, some PD programs, and a return of an old favourite, the tune of the month. Which interestingly is played via Optimed Player, which would have been a cool thing to get on its own. But being honest, I would have kept the player and then kicked the song out. So let's check out that program demo, which is for Deluxe Paint 5. D-Paint was a staple of the Amiga bundles, and it was a very well regarded art package. But I do wonder how many people actually upgraded or even bought a copy. So for those of you who are still using D-Paint 2, 3 or 4, you could check out this demo of 5. Which was limited, as you might expect, to only 64 colours in low resolution mode. You could only do 25 frames a second animations. Oh, and you can't save. So you're not going to be switching anytime soon over to using this demo full time. But if you wanted to see what new features they added, like the new airbrush, translucency effects, or the updated animation widgets, then this would have been great. The first PD program is the Random Dot Stereogram Maker. Yes, you can take your IFF images and turn them from this into those weird images that are meant to be 3D. That is, if you can do that weird cross-eyed thing and then trying to stare at them. But to be honest, I rarely see them very well. This seems like a neat program, and it works as well as the ones I saw in magazines. The other program is the Real-Time Effects Generator, a program that is only really useful if you have a sampler dongle connected to your Amiga. A program that really only have a sampler dongle to your Amiga. So if you ever really wanted to sound like a Dalek, or have a number of other effects applied to your voice, or anything else that you want to pipe in real time. The demo is for Dragonstone, an adventure RPG from Core Design. Now we've seen this exact same demo before, but it is an interesting game, so let's take another look at it. This is a little bit like an Amiga Zelda, just with the Amiga sensibilities. Now you have a sword that you can attack or even charge up, which at full power will send out a fireball. You can also hit the spacebar to interact with the world, examine, talk, or do all the various things that you might expect. Combat though, it doesn't feel great, as it feels like just swinging the sword quickly enough is the best attack, as that charging takes way too long. And the monsters, well, they'll just keep respawning. You don't even have to go off the screen for them to come back again. They will just return. And it is so very easy to be swarmed by baddies. It can also be a little bit difficult to work out your health, as it's that tiny face in the HUD on the side, and it will slowly turn into a skull with damage. Now in this demo you'll have to try and find the house with the old lady, who seems wiser than she looks, and then you'll have to go out attacking plants, until you find the one that has the herb that she requires to finish her stew. You gotta love a person who needs very specific herbs for their dinner. Doing this will net you a scroll that you can then read to the stones to get teleported further into the demo. Now this does seem like an interesting game, and it is one that I really should put more time into. We move on to Amiga Power next, who across 3 discs provided 4 demos. But we'll skip the first one as it's the same theme park demo that we've already seen in Amiga Format. So our first demo is for Bubble and Squeak. Now we've seen this game before on the CD32, well this is the Amiga 1200 version, as this actually started off as an AGA only game, or at least an AGA first game. And at this point there was no indication there was going to be an Amiga 500 version either. Now in the demo we control Bubble, the boy, and we can do all the regular platforming things. But we can also work and use Squeak to get further into the level and to solve puzzles. Now the level we have to play here is the first one from the second world, so they would have expected that you have already gotten the hang of the controls. Thankfully, the controls are simple enough, so it shouldn't take you too long, but there is a water that will slowly raise if you take too long. Bubble isn't too bad at following you, but it can be a little annoying that you have to move a little bit further than you might expect for him to fall down from some of the platforms. And just like the CD32 demo that we saw before, there's multiple levels for you to play. All in all, it's a decent demo and a fun game. The other A1200 only game is one we've already seen, Tower Assault, but this is the graphically upgraded version of what we got to see before. And what makes this a bit more fun is it's a different level, but the basics of it are exactly the same. We are still stuck in this area that has radioactive rooms, so we have all the issues of the previous demo, but it is nice to be able to see a different map, as well as the step up in colours that the AGA version had over the original Amiga 500. The last demo for Amiga Power is a favourite of mine as it's rough and tumble. Now this is the demo that I played back in the day which got me really interested in this game, as I owned a copy of this issue of Amiga Power, which made those 2 AGA only games a little bit annoying, but I did get a chance to play those round at my mates. So I ended up playing this demo a lot, and it is a great time as it's a unique level just for the demo because it never showed up in the final game. Now this is a run and gun mixed with a Euro platformer, as we have to do lots of running and gunning, and taking out lots of robots, as well as trying to collect the marbles that have been hidden in the level. Once you've done that, the exit will open up and we can leave. This is a fast, fun game with lots of weapons, keys and places to explore, and it just looks absolutely lovely, and for the work of a tiny team they did an amazing job. I have a blast every time I play this game, and at some point I will track down a box copy of it and give you a full review. And the final magazine is Amiga Action, that included 3 discs, 3 demos, and a whopping 21 PD games. And if that number seems familiar, and if you recognise some of the names on the screen, then you might have seen a previous episode when this exact same disc was on a cover of CU Amiga magazine. And because we've already seen all of these before, I figured it would be good to revisit some of the better titles here, rather than show them all again. So let's start with Amoeba Invaders. Nicely done Space Invaders clone that is simple, with some nice use of colours and animations with the classic audio. If you want to play Space Invaders, this is a good place to start. We also have Match Patch, a bubble style game in which you have to drop yourself down the holes at the bottom of the screen to switch out your powers, as only the right power will be able to defeat the baddies. but they too will change their form, either by falling down those holes or if they get hit by the wrong ability. So you're going to have to be constantly on the lookout to see what they're doing and what they currently are. You'll also have to try and work out what you'll need to be to counter them as well. The art style is a little bit messy, but it is a fun game. As is Go Moku, a Connect 5 style game where you have to place Go tiles in turn. The goal being that you have to try and line up 5 tiles, either horizontally, vertically, or at an angle. And yes, the computer player will win most of the time. Or, so far, every single time. But at some point, I will beat it. And finally, there is Dilemma, a game which you have to use the pieces that are in the bank at the bottom of the screen to try and fill the shape in the middle. You have a limited number of pieces, and you have to use them all. Again, this is a simple game, but it's done well enough, with an art style that really fits in. After that, we got on to their first demo, which is for Putty Squad, a game that famously was just a demo for Amiga owners, as even though it was finished and reviewed, it never got released. 1994 was the year that the Amiga market started to die off, which is obviously a shame, as this was a lovely demo and I think the full game would have sold well enough, even though it was an AGA only title. We play as the blue blob of putty that can move around the level using various putty-like abilities, like punching and stretching, as well as collecting items inside their body to be able to be used later. The main task of putty is to travel around the level finding the red putties and collecting them. Now there's a set number of MIA putties that you have to find, and when that's done, the exit will reveal itself. This is a fun demo that's based on the first few levels of the game, which finally got released a few years back, that actually required them finding someone to crack the old copy protection so they could get a physical release made of it. But unfortunately, I never got my hands on a copy and I really wish I managed it. Now amazingly, after all that PD that we looked at before, there's still one more, and it's World's Tour. A one-armed bandit, fruit machine or slot machine game if you prefer, that was sold as shareware in the Bandit Mania collection. Now this was a strangely popular genre for PD developers, but it is always a bit weird, as even if you make the best fruit machine ever, you're not going to win any money from it. So it's just about trying to take whatever winnings you have and then putting it back in it again, or using it like some high score. Now this one does look nicer than some we've seen previously, with the pinball style dot matrix screen in the middle doing some nice animations. There's even some music and sound effects going on, so it's not completely quiet. Now you can get the titular World Tour by getting 3 passports in the middle, but then the game will just play itself. You don't have to interact with it at all. Now it looks cool with those dot matrix animations, but it's a bit boring. The final demo for the episode is Vital Light, another game that we've seen before and another that I'm not the biggest fan of. It's a puzzle game in that vein of Tetris and columns. And what you need to do is get those lines all the same colour. You do this by firing colours up at it, but you have a limited inkwell for each one. So selecting the right colour to quickly clear a line is key. Now it looks all very fancy with some nice animations and other touches going on all around it, but it more distracts you from the experience than it enhances. It also allowed them to do other weird things that makes the game more of a chore to play than it makes it fun. Now this might just be me not really getting it, but after I've played this game a bunch of times through various demos, as well as checking out the full title, I've never come away from it wanting to play it more. And for me, I find it a great example of how you can overcook a title. And with that, we have covered all the magazines, so it's time for me to call out what I think was the top 3 bits of software. And in third place, I'm going to say Dragonstone. Now I was going to include Rough and Tumble, but I've done that a number of times now, and I wanted to pick something different. And I really do want to check out more of this game. In second place, Simon the Sorcerer. The talkie version of the game is great, and this is a lovely adventure game. I would have put a lot of time into this demo if I had it back then. And in first place, Theme Park. This was the demo that I played back in the day, and it made me want to get the full thing, so it really did its job. Yes, they could have had more content, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. What did you think of my choices? Do you think something else deserved to take the top spots? Let me know in the comments. And also let me know if you had any of the magazines. I was obviously with Amiga Power this month. And until next time, I was a Goldfish. That was the first video I've made since the channel passed 5,000 subs, so thank you for everyone that subscribed and watches these videos. You lot are awesome. And this was Goldfish on Games. As always, thank you for watching. These cover disc videos have become a real highlight for me, as quite often I find new and interesting games that I have to check out, and it's great that I get to share all of this with you. And if this was fun for you, then you might want to check out the playlist or another video, as you'll find links on the screen right now.